12 o'clock p.m. I'm in the Kansai area, and thanks for everybody coming. I'm going to put in some links in the chat here. So you're watching this on YouTube. You can go to another platform if you like, or follow some of these other platforms for updates. Anyway, I guess I should say that in Japanese, should I? 皆さん、ようこそ、こんにちは。現在、日本は午後の12時ちょうどです。天気は曇り。私は関西地方の方にいますが、今日はいろいろ質問答えてあげたいと思いますので、よろしくお願いします。大家好。안녕하세요. Hola, mi amigos, amigas. Okay, so let's get started. Some questions. I got some questions here, and let's see. The first one is not really a question, but it was something I wanted to talk about, and it was about the Duolingo app. Actually, I use that to study Chinese, and I use other stuff too. And I noticed a comment, and when I used Duolingo before, there was when you want to check if something's a little strange, there's a comment section, and you go there, and all these people have comments about that lesson or that expression, and questions about it, and they have discontinued it, and I believe I know why, because a lot of people write a lot of stupid stuff, and it was about the English translation, and they had a Chinese sentence, which is perfectly fine, but the person didn't like the Chinese or the English translation and said it should be more like this or more like that. One person said there should be a semicolon. Come on, you're not studying English. You're studying Chinese. If you get the gist, it's okay. And I think a lot of time in that application, they are using direct translations. So it comes out in the strange English. The good point is you start thinking in the way the Chinese people do or the Japanese people do. So, for example, when I studied Japanese, there's a sentence, some of you know that if you studied a little Japanese at all, and for example, I don't know if you can see this, これはペンです。これはペンです。It's a pen or this is a pen, okay? これ means this, and wa is just to indicate the subject of the sentence, kore, and then pen des means it is a pen. And my teacher told us, to be honest, it's more like as for this, it is a pen. So after that, every time we had a Japanese sentence, we had to translate into English. I did it that style. And she asked me, why do you do that? And the reason was to get thinking like Japanese. And later, I think it really helped me when I constructed new sentences with different words in that same form. To be honest, des turns out to be it is. And then you indicate kore sore, my book, watashi no hon des, it is mine. So actually the grammar is in reverse. And to me, that was helpful. So sometimes thinking, translating into English, the grammar style of that language will help you construct new sentences on your own. All right, now, so the first main question I had here was the difference between sama, san, kun, chan, and then I added in sensei here. These are all put at the end of people's names and sometimes other things' names to refer to. I'm sure you all know san. So if you talk to somebody and say, oh, Tanaka-san or Miyamoto-san, it's just to address them like Mr. or Miss or something like that. But with children, often we'll hear kun for boys and chan for girls. So, for example, a first name for a boy, Taro, you wouldn't call him Taro-san if you're an adult. You'd call him Taro-kun. And it's just a cuter, a softer way of saying him, kind of like sweetie or honey or something like that. And then for a girl, you say chan. So, by the way, it's interesting. Babies are called aka-chan, and it's the Chinese character aka is red, and then chan, aka-chan. So it's like red thing. So it's not a person yet. Now, sama is the formal verb. this first word here, sama, and it has a Chinese character. So when you talk to somebody that's in business or above you or higher, then you say nani nani sama. So if the customer was Miyamoto, you'd say Miyamoto sama. But actually, when people speak to customers in the store, customer is called kyaku, kyaku, and they say oh kyaku sama, oh kyaku sama daijoubu desu ka? And it's literally means customer, are you okay? But it's just a formal way to say you in certain situations. In business, I write emails almost every day to people who contact me, and I always address them as, for example, their name is Tanaka. I say Tanaka sama. This is Miyamoto from Nuance English. Thank you for contacting us, or something like that. And san is just when it's just a regular person and you don't really know who they are. But when you address a friend or a neighbor, you'll go by the last name and san. With sama and san, uh, the first name, always just the family name. Okay. Now, one funny thing I saw on TV show, and this was a Japanese person who made a big mistake, was they said "ogyak-sama," and then the ogyak-sama wanted them to do something, and he said it'll take a few minutes, and she said, "Okay, I'll be back." And as she left, he wanted to know her name, and so you could say, "Oh, onamai nantyun desu ka?" But he wanted to say "ogyak-sama nan no namai," and he said "nani-sama." Now, this combination here is really means who the hell do you think you are? So never say that. Nami. So Miyamoto sama. So Nani sama. To ask the name would be get the hell out of my face or shut up. So you don't want to say that. All right. So let's move on. Now, somebody asked me just the other day how to practice kanji. Okay. And I can't remember kanji, and how do I practice kanji? So I prepared this here. If you look on the internet, there's tons of places where you can print out sheets like this, or you can get a book. Now, I highly recommend you get the Japanese version and start, if you're just beginning kanji, start at elementary first grade, because they have a specific order. They learn the kanji. It gets, of course, exponentially difficult, but they use a lot of difficult kanji, use many simple kanji in a different combination. So if you learn the first ones really well, then the next ones are just combining ones you learned before, and it gets easier and easier to remember. I think in daily Japanese, if you need to write simple stuff, you need about 2,000 kanji. And if you want to do business and stuff, 4,000. Now, in today's computer world, most people can't write it anymore, because after college, they're using their smartphones or computer, and they can read it because you see it everywhere, but you don't write it all day, all long. And it's muscle memory. This is so. But if you want to practice writing and get the basics down, get some type of practice sheet with this. This one here, you can say, it says how many strokes. And then up at the right-hand corner here, it says the meaning. And in Japanese kanji, often have two different readings depending on how they are in the sentence. Now, another thing is, you might get a book that includes this. This is from some other place. But what this is a short sentence. On the side, it has the hiragana, and it says, Getsu ka sui moku kin ni gakko de. And I'm not sure what you're supposed to write after this, but this Getsu ka sui kin are actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it kind of tests you, so you can write the kanji into this little box, and then you need an answer sheet somewhere to make sure you wrote it correctly, but you're also writing a sentence, and then making little memos to yourself, simple memos in the kanji or in the Japanese sentence to reinforce that is a really great idea. Now, there's also another type of practice notebook that has these squares, but nothing in it. And you just practice writing the same kanji 5 or 6 times, or writing sentences. I often would use that. I would write, the kanji would have a sample sentence with the main kanji you're supposed to write. And then I would practice that kanji many times, do a few of those, and then go back, kind of glance at the beginning of the sentence, and then try to reproduce the sentence by memory, and see if I could write it without looking at the samples. So these are ways to do it. Other thing is we got apps up the wing wing, and you can look kanji writing app, and those are fine to remember the stroke order and remember how to write the kanji, but you're using your finger. And when it comes to a pencil, I tell you, I did the apps for a long time, and then when I went to write it, it's just so bad. The penmanship was so awful. So good penmanship comes from actually using a pen or a pencil on paper and doing it over and over. Start slowly, try to make it as beautiful as possible, and it'll get better and better, and then you'll get faster and faster. Okay. Now, another question I had the other day was how to practice listening to Japanese. Okay. I'm my thinking on studying foreign language is all about speaking is first. Hear the sentence. If you can read it or use whatever language, your own language, to read it and express it in your voice, because it's all muscle memory, your lips and your tongue. And in the case like now I'm studying Chinese, the tones, your voice, all come from practice. It's just like baseball. The first time any kid throws a baseball, it goes the wrong way. And after about 100 times, he starts hitting it dead on. So it's the same thing. Now, after you do that, but of course you do that, and then you say something to somebody and you can't understand their answer. YouTube is just full of listening practice videos for free. And they'll have they have it in Chinese, so I'm sure they have it in Japanese. And what it is you'll hear an English sentence, and then go ahead and try to produce it, and then they give the Japanese sentence, and you can see if you are correct or not, or if it was a different version. And then listening is the opposite. You'll hear the sentence and you try to recognize it. Maybe you should repeat it, see if you can repeat it, and if you can say it, probably you understand it. But at first you might hear it and go, God, what did he say? I don't know. And then the English sentence comes, and you might go, oh, I don't know that at all. Or, oh, yeah, I knew that. I just couldn't catch it. Or, no, that's it. There are no more. Oh, no. Okay. So that's anyway to improve your learning. We don't need this anymore. Now, listening practice. Now, another thing you can do is movies dubbed in Japanese, American movies dubbed in Japanese. If you have a favorite movie that you've seen 5, 6, a dozen times, and you know a lot of the lines, then you go watch it in Japanese, you're going to pick up some of the expressions because you know what they're supposed to be saying. Now, sometimes in translation, it's completely different because the original English wouldn't make sense in Japanese, so they use a completely different expression. But my experience when I first came to Japan, I lived in a little one-room. I lived in a house, but I had only my one room. We shared the house. I had an old TV and an old VCR. And one night they had Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, and I recorded it. And it was in Japanese. And the thing is, I'd seen the movie a dozen times before, so I kind of knew what he was supposed to be saying. I couldn't catch it at first, but I think once a week, because I had no money and not a lot of friends, and so I was at home every night. About once a week, I would get bored and just play it again. And after the 4th or 5th time, I was catching up all these Japanese sentences. Another one is turn on the Japanese news, and you could probably find that on YouTube. And watch it 10, 15 minutes once a week or every day or every other day. Now, at first, you're going to have no idea what they're saying. The thing is, there's 2 great things that happen with Japanese TV. Half the things they say, they write, like I have down here in this ribbon, in the Japanese. So if you can read some of the kanji or the hiragana and listen to them say it, then that's a good listening practice and you can read it. Now, after the thing about news is it's repetitious. It's fires, robberies, earthquakes. Right now, all day long, it's the war. But of course, up till a couple of months ago, it was everything was Corona, COVID. And I remember watching the news and I couldn't understand, but I just had it playing. And I always kept hearing them say, Genzai, wa ha ha ha, Genzai, wa ha ha ha. And I asked my wife, what is Genzai? And she goes, oh, that means now. So I was already able to say the word catch it and hear it. I just didn't know the meaning. All I needed to do was find out the meaning after that. Isn't this how children learn language? You see children, they hear it, they imitate it, but they don't really know what they're saying. And they'll even try to use it in a sentence because they think, well, it's this situation. And they're often wrong and make a mistake, or their parents correct them and then they get it. So for listening practice, I think that's great. Japanese dramas, TV, and of course, songs. Okay. What a great listening practice. You hear it, you catch the tune, you like it, and then by after the 10th or 20th time you've heard the song, you find yourself singing parts of it. And then the only thing after that is go look for uh, go excuse me go look for what the meaning means, look it up, or ask somebody to explain it to you. All right. Now, another question, this is interesting actually, something you'll hear every day if you're in a Japanese home, is Tadaima and Okairi. So I've thought about this a lot, and in English, when we leave the house, we say, okay, goodbye, I'm going, okay, have a good time. And I didn't put that in here, but that's ittekimasu, itterashai. So when you're leaving your house, you say ittekimasu. And then the person staying home, still at home, says goodbye to you. They say itterashai. Ittekimasu means I'm going and coming back, literally. Itterashai means be on your way. Okay. Now, when you get home, as soon as you open the door, I think in America, usually to say, I'm home. And then somebody says, oh, hi, how was your day? Oh, hi. Well, in Japan, it's tadaima, which literally means just now. And then they say okairi, which means welcome home in a sense, but it just means go home or come home. Now, the question about this was, if I'm not coming back home, can I say tadaima, I'm home? And actually, you can say that when you're returning to some place that you were at and left for a while and came back. So people in the office that go out to have lunch or have to go to the store and get something, and when they come back, they'll say tadaima, and the other person that was still in the place will say okairi. Okay, now, this is a great question. What does Moshimoshi mean? If you've studied a bit of Japanese, you know on the telephone, when you answer the phone, you say Moshimoshi, and the other person will probably say Moshimoshi and then start saying who they are and what they want. But what does it mean? Well, and there we go. The kanji is down here, and it comes from the word mosu, and mosu has many meanings, but it kind of means speak. And the story I heard was when they first tested the telephone in Japan, they would say moshimasu or mosu mosu, which means I'm going to speak now, or can you hear me? So if you've seen an American movie in the airplanes, they'll often say, this is so-and-so, Roger, which means Roger that, Roger out. I heard it, I understood it, I understand you. So really, this means I'm going to speak, moshi moshi. And if you just start speaking right away, they're not prepared to listen to what you're going to say, and they might not catch it. So this is a great way to, it is the way to start a conversation on the phone. Chinese is similar. In Chinese, usually hello is ni hao, or how are you, ni hao ma. But on the telephone, they always say wei, which is, I don't know the Chinese character, it's different, but it's the same thing. This mosu also is used in, for example, when I send an email to somebody, I said earlier, first I would say Tanaka-sama, and then I'd say kochira wa, this is, kochira wa Miyamoto to moshimasu. Literally, I am called Miyamoto. Or in business, in formal settings, when you first meet somebody and you introduce yourself, you could say, Watashi no namae Miyamoto desu. My name is Miyamoto. It's okay, but usually in formal settings, and Miyamoto to moshimasu, yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And there's a short lesson on this on a live I've done before on our YouTube channel about business Japanese, but it's not just business. In any formal setting, you would probably use this expression. When you apply for something, it's called moshikomi, and komu means to dive in. and it just means to sign up for something, moshikomo. And it could be used in a variety of other characters with different combinations. Okay, so that's it. I don't see any questions here in the chat. I'll be doing another live stream within the next week. So if you weren't able to attend today, please watch this later, although you can't hear me saying that now. And go ahead and subscribe to YouTube or follow one of the channels. And then when I schedule the next live stream, it'll give you warning ahead of time. He's going to do it at such and such date. If you have questions about Japanese or English or language in general, if you send a message or a comment in any one of the videos, I'll see it and I can prepare an answer for that, or maybe reply to you right there in our next live stream, or reply to it then, depending on the situation. And I hope to see you again, and good luck with your Japanese practice.